So I just wanted to spend a moment to talk a little bit about how a table of contents should be structured. And one of the really basic things is that while we call a table of contents a table, when it comes to NIMAS, it should not be tagged as a table. It should be tagged using a nested list structure. And there is a major structures section of the DAISY structure guidelines that goes into quite a bit of detail with several examples on this, which is, again, a great resource. So what I'm going to start with here is this is an example actually taken from the DAISY structure guidelines. And I want to start by just looking at what we actually see in the print book for this particular example. So what we have here is that this book is Unit 1. That is the complete book. So that's one thing I want to clarify right away. So the book is Unit 1, Animals, Tame and Wild. So what we see here is that within this book, we have 2 chapters, Animal Friends and Wild Animals. And underneath those chapters, we actually see our table of contents entries. So if you looked at this, or if you prepared a table of contents for this, and you created a list for Animal Friends and a list for Wild Animals, to that extent, that is correct. You're halfway there. But what we also want to indicate here is that those 2 lists are not standalone structures. They are a part of the whole table of contents. So when we talk about nesting these lists, what we're really talking about is creating a parent list, which in this case is going to consist of the names of the chapters. And then the nested lists or the child lists are going to be underneath those list items within that overall structure. So what we're going to do now is actually look at what that table of contents tagging is going to look like. Oops, did not mean to do that. Let me go back. So this is the top of our table of contents tagging. And just to kind of go down in order, and one of the things that's always beautiful about XML is that it's very orderly. So, we start out with our level 1 tag. That's a very common way to introduce a table of contents. Then we have a page number. We have our H1 heading for the table of contents. And then that's where our parent list that I was talking about, that's where it begins. This is the list that's going to wrap that whole table of contents. And within that, we see our first list item is Animal Friends. That's that first chapter name. Underneath that, that's where we're going to see that nested list. And beneath that, all of our entries for the table of contents. At the end of that chapter, at the end of those entries, we're going to see that nested list close, and we're going to see a new list item. We're going to see that first list item close, and then a new list item for the next chapter, a second nested list for those table of contents entries. We're going to close that nested list when those are finished, close the list item for that chapter, and then we close the list for that parent list for the whole table of contents. So again, if you've been approaching this and creating consecutive lists, you've just got one other step to do, which is that what we really want is to wrap all of the table of contents in that parent list. So to recap, you want to use a nested list structure. You're going to have a parent list that wraps the entire TOC, and then you're going to use that nested list structure when the table of contents is subdivided by chapter or other divisions. Now, you may have simple books where you don't have that kind of subdivision, and in those cases, the nesting may not be necessary. But in K through 12 instructional materials, it's very common to have further divisions of the table of contents. Again, the DAISY structure guidelines does have some additional examples. But if you have questions, just get in touch. We're happy to help.